What's up, everybody? This is Jared Woodard. Hope you're doing well today. Hope you've had a nice weekend, a nice week. You're listening to this sometime in the future. It's late Sunday night, and I'm just now editing this, so I'm just going to treat it like you're listening to it when I upload it in the morning. I hope you had a nice weekend. In Tennessee, turkey season started this last weekend, April the 1st, 2017. I hope you got a chance to get out and get on some birds. If not, I hope you're going soon. I had a bunch of family stuff this weekend, soccer games, dance stuff, church, and I didn't even go hunting. I'm really disappointed in myself. But I will be going twice this week to catch up. And so I'm hoping to get on some turkeys. I am so ready to be sitting under a tree when a turkey gobbles. You have no idea. And so I hope to knock a couple out this season and spend lots of hours in the woods. I hope you get to do the same. If turkey hunting's not your thing, if you're more of a fisherman or a deer hunter, hope you're getting prepped for that, getting those food plots planted, getting that boat ready for summer. If you don't do any of that, you should pick it up. It's really fun. If nothing else, just go fishing. Nothing wrong with a little bit of catfishing. I mean, most people are totally fine with fishing. It's well worth the time. Anyways, I do this every time. I ramble on and never get to the actual point. One thing I did want to mention is make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and check out the website from time to time. Oh, on YouTube as well. Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, Double Trouble Hunting. Instagram at Double Trouble Hunting. Facebook is facebook.com/Double Trouble Hunting. YouTube is youtube.com/Double Trouble Hunting. And the website is dthunting.us. You can catch us there. Please follow us on Instagram just for the simple fact of we love to hear from people who are actually listening to the podcast. Because I'm talking to a microphone right now. I have no idea if anybody's ever going to hear this. I can look at numbers on a screen, but in reality, unless you say, hey man, I listened to the podcast, it sucked. Or, hey man, I listened to the podcast, it was awesome. I have no clue. So please, let us know if you're listening. We really appreciate it and really enjoy talking to people, especially when it comes down to sharing pictures of turkeys you've killed and deer you've killed and fish you've caught. It's a lot of fun. So, that's the end of my rambling part. Now on to the good stuff. This week, I sat down with Mr. Randy Montana. You might know Randy from some of his artistry as a country artist. He had a couple records out back not too long ago. He is also a songwriter and doing a lot right now on that side of things. To boot, and the best part about him is he is a deer and turkey hunter. A bow hunter for whitetails, no less, which gets close to mine and Kevin's heart. And he and I sat down last week, had a really good conversation about music, a lot about hunting, a lot about turkey hunting. You've got to stay tuned and listen to his story about his full mount turkey that he brought home. It's probably one of the best full hunting stories I've heard in a long time. Well worth the listen. So, without further ado, I'm going to shut up and let you get to it. Here's Randy Montana, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks, guys. Hey guys, this is Jared with Hunt Nashville. I am here with my buddy Randy Montana, who has graciously come out on this fine, dreary Nashville morning down to Sonic Church Studios over here in Brentwood, and decided to do a podcast. Talk a little music, a little hunting. Absolutely. Thanks for coming, dude. What got you into music initially?
My dad has been in music since before I was born.
Okay.
He lived in upstate New York. Him and my mom both did. They got married up there, and they both grew up there, and so, man, he was in a band up there, and they wound up getting a record deal on Warner Brothers here in Nashville. And then we moved here when I was, maybe 2 years old, 2 or 3. And so, yeah, he was doing a record deal and writing songs. I kind of just grew up around it, honestly.
Right.
It's kind of like anything. I always describe it like if your dad's a mechanic, you know, and you watch your dad change an alternator.
Right.
It's not that big of a deal
right.
to you. You know what I mean? Because you were just around it all the time.
Right.
You know? Whereas, I couldn't change an alternator to save my life. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, yeah, so I just kind of grew up around it and honestly kind of denied it for a long time.
Right.
Up until I was so focused on sports and things like that through high school.
Right.
And, man, as we, I think I started, toying with writing songs when I was in my teens, 16, 17, and got into a band when I got to college.
Right.
And
where'd you go to school?
I started at a little school here in town, actually called Tribeca. I went there for a year, I think.
Okay.
And then transferred to MTSU for another few years. I lived in Murfreesboro for a while.
Music business major, or?
Man, I actually didn't.
Really?
I did like business management. It just, I loved music, but and I honestly didn't know at the time that that's what I was going to do as a career.
Right.
Honestly, up until kind of it started happening, you know, and yeah, man, I was having too much fun playing in a band. We were doing like fraternity parties and we were 19, 20 years old. I'm like, man, this is awesome.
With the dude
you know what
with
I
the
mean?
Guitar, it's like that's the like common theme I see with like musicians. It's like the driving factor is almost always chicks really good guys with guitars.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Even if it's like an underlying sort of thing. Yeah. You're like, oh my gosh, they pay attention to me when I have this.
But yeah, man, it's the same deal. It's like you get up and it was just a lot of fun. I was just having a ball. I was like, yeah, I could do this. You know what I mean?
Right. So I'm assuming just like instruments were around since your dad was an artist. Like,
yeah,
picking up a guitar was pretty natural because they were all over the house.
Totally, man. I started playing guitar when I was 10, and
Right.
we all played and screwed around with singing. You know what I mean?
You have any siblings?
I do. I have a younger brother and a younger sister.
Okay. Do they do music at all? Or?
Yeah, my sister's got a great band. They're her and my brother-in-law started a band called Bird Talker.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and they're doing it's kind of like a indie pop kind of thing.
Cool.
Rock,
are they in town or are they somewhere else?
Yeah, they're in town.
Awesome.
And
all your family still here? Or?
Yeah, my mom and dad live in Nolensville, and then we're on the south side of town, and yeah, so we're all here. My brother lives in Birmingham.
Okay, that's not too terribly far, at least.
No, and he's the smart one out of the group. He's he's a doctor.
Okay.
So
yeah, he's the one that got out.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, dude. I mean, it was just kind of like you said. There's instruments around, and we all kind of it's just there. You know?
No, absolutely. So, what do you remember, like that, like catalyst moment, or was there a specific catalyst moment where you were like, you know what, I think I'm going to consider doing this for a living, or was there just something that happened that kind of said, yeah, I can't really deny trying to do this?
Yeah, no, there was a I dropped out of school, as all good musicians should,
right?
And I told, I kind of made a deal with myself. I was like, I'm going to spend the next, I think I gave myself a year or a year and a half, and said, I was waiting tables and roofing houses and just like whatever, you know what I mean?
Just
and
enough to make ends meet.
Totally, man. And it was kind of on a roof there in Murfreesboro, in July.
Oh, gosh.
It's 120 degrees up there.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
Where you kind of go, man, I better get good at this. You know what I mean? Like, not at roofing houses. I better get good at this music thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't do this my whole life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of there where you go, okay, buckle down. And I gave myself, like I said, like a year and a half, and I was like, let's try to get a publishing deal. Like, literally, that was like the first goal. Right. And
so you had been writing just like songs for your band
for the band,
point, or? Okay.
Yeah, and mixing them in there live, because we were doing those 4-hour sets, so it was like, man, it was a lot of covers.
There's only so many Skynyrd songs you can play.
Yeah, you can only do Freebird for 20 minutes so many times a night, right?
Yeah, that's very true. So you decided to buckle down and hammer it. What was like? What was the process of getting your first publishing deal? How did that come about? Just pitch meetings, or?
Man, I wound up, it was cool having my dad there, he at least could. I knew like the people that he had. It was his coworkers growing up. You know what I mean? So like, songwriters were always around.
Right.
And he could at least point me in the direction of, he set up a couple meetings with me with publishers, I remember. Mm-hmm. And, I just remember it not really going anywhere. I wasn't like, it wasn't getting closer. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, hey, yeah, okay, well, keep me up with what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think it was more of the generous meeting as far as like, yeah, okay, I'll take a meeting.
Doing a favor sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And I found a group of guys I was writing with a lot, mm-hmm. and we'd demo a song every now and then and get like a good sounding track on a demo, a song we'd mm-hmm. written, and a guy named Clay Bradley, who Clay's doing management stuff right now. He worked at BMI for a while.
Okay.
At the time was he was working head of A&R at Sony Records. Okay. And he heard a demo I sang on and called me.
Oh, wow.
Out of the blue. It was like the week I was getting married.
That's awesome.
And he called me and was like, hey, man, come, let's hang out. And I said, well, I'm getting married this week, you know what I mean? But I'll be back in town. And literally, I got back in town and it kind of just went from there.
That's
literally.
incredible.
Like it was kind of one of those weird ones where
right.
it was literally out of the blue, you know?
So he just heard it, liked it. So he heard your voice on a demo and then wanted to come through and dig through your songs? Or heard your voice on a demo and just wanted to like come in as an artist?
Started going to the record deal thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
There was no like, I'm going to be an artist sort of thing. You were really pushing to be a writer at this point.
Literally was just trying. I just wanted to get a pub deal. And I loved playing in my band.
Right.
And literally it was like, my plan was like, well, I'll just write songs and still just do my band.
Right. You're not setting up showcases for yourself.
Right. It was nothing like that.
Wow.
And yeah. And then it kind of, I wound up, I signed at Sony Publishing.
Okay.
Shortly after that. And then it was kind of off to the races. Wow. Honestly, things started really picking up. Kind of, like I said, out of nowhere. It was kind of cool.
So what led you over to Mercury? Because that's where we met initially, mm-hmm. very briefly, probably 6 years ago, or however long. You were doing one of the Sugarland tours.
Yes.
They're on the MCA side, I think, or mm-hmm. were. I don't know if they still are. And I was playing for Coldwater J and my sisters.
Yeah.
And so that's how we met. What led you to the whole Mercury thing? Is it just something that they heard you and wanted to take a look, or?
Yeah, it was kind of a similar thing with like, once I signed it, Sony started writing songs over there. Mm-hmm. That was kind of part of the deal. Was like, all right, we're gonna try to get this guy a record deal.
Gotcha.
And which I was cool with. You know what I mean? Like, I was young. I was 24. I was just kind of going like, dude, whatever happens. You know what I mean? Like, and. So we wound up, met Joe Fisher, mm-hmm. Who was working at Universal at the time, doing A&R over there. And, Joe, I wound up signing a deal over there, and it was another quick one, man. It's just like everything kind of happened. With music, everything kind of like happened quickly.
Really?
At that early stage. Like, it was kind of a whirlwind. I remember looking at my wife going, what the hell is going on? This is bizarre.
I've been roofing houses trying to get this to happen, and all of a sudden I can't keep up.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Right.
And and then next thing I knew, I'd been writing songs all along, and this is over the course of like a year and a half. Right. You know what I mean? Right. But
which is still really fast when it comes to the music industry, because the wheels turn slow around here until they're ready to turn fast.
Totally, man. No, you're exactly right. And on the other side of it all, it's like you see how slow things do actually move, and mm-hmm. and then it was odd that it was moving as quick as it did. But yeah, man, it was. I made a record with Jay Joyce,
mm-hmm.
and which was awesome, man, because Jay was kind of just at the beginning stages. Like, he had been doing the Eric Church stuff.
Right.
He'd been making the Eric Church records, and I think that Carolina record had just come out.
Oh, I gotcha.
So it was kind of like the first big success for him too, like mainstream success.
Mm-hmm.
And
now he's like, everybody wants him.
Yeah,
because he's phenomenally talented.
Totally, man. Now you can't touch him. Essentially, and but I think I was like the second guy in country that he'd worked with.
So that's just really good timing too.
It was, man, and Mercury was great. Got to make the record that I really wanted to.
They didn't force anything down your throat.
It was very, man. It was very it was a very collective thing. You know what I mean? And that was making my first record was an awesome process because the songs were, you know, I cut a couple outside things, but man, we agreed on what to stick on there. You know what I mean? So,
well, and that's a big thing that like a lot of people that aren't familiar with that side of the business don't realize, especially for a new artist or a newly signed artist, is like trying to get your own songs on a record sometimes can be like pulling teeth because they're wanting to go with the people, you know, they're wanting Craig Wiseman and Rodney Clawson to write all your songs, which they're phenomenal writers, but like some people come in with their own stuff and it's like, no, I really want to put my own stuff in there. So to have a label agree to that and not really push back on it a lot is a pretty big deal.
For sure, man. And I do believe that every project is different. Right. You know what I mean? And every artist is different.
Right.
And
some people come in with songs that aren't very good. There's a good reason they need to bring in an outside source.
Right, man. Right. And I think you always got to treat each one differently because they're all... Like you said, I mean, it's just, it's different. It's its own thing. Each artist is different, and they want to say different things, and you just like to see people stick true to who they are in the end. You know what I mean? You hate when you hear somebody. It's like, man, that's not him. I know that guy. Like that's not. He wouldn't say that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's somebody else. Yeah. Well, and you can always, even if it seems it's a little more. It's a little more obvious, even if you don't know the person, where you hear a record come out. It's like, something about this doesn't sound right. You know?
Yes.
Like, something sounds put on about this.
Right.
It just doesn't strike you.
Right.
There's I won't say a name, but there's a record that came out not too long ago from a friend of mine, and I was like, this does not sound like them at all. It's just like totally this way.
Totally.
From what you were expecting, and it's like somebody got in their ear and was like, "Oh no, man, you gotta cut this song right here. I'm telling you, this is the one." And it's like, "Oh no, this is the one right here."
Totally.
And you know, come to find out that writer is pushing really hard for that person to get that song on that record.
For sure, man.
Because it's very political when it comes down to it.
Yes.
And especially on that side of things of pitching songs and trying to get a song on a record.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole different animal. You know what I mean? It's a whole different animal. But it's awesome, man. It's exciting, you know. It's especially like being on, and that's what's cool with writing songs now. Having been on the artist side of things, for me, and kind of understanding like, okay, well, it takes a lot to get into that.
Yeah.
As a writer, you know what I mean. For that song's got to be perfect for that artist. You know what I mean? Like it really does.
Right.
And.
Well, it probably helps, too, to know how much is, from the artist standpoint, and now not on the outside looking in, but as a writer, you know, plugging songs to artists, is like realizing that artist is putting their heart and soul in this record, and it's their name on the record. Whereas, like, as a songwriter, you put everything into that song, but you turn that song away, and the next day you're on to the next one, or the next write, you're on to the next one. So I guess that would probably help lend itself to know what that artist is going through, like when they're going through. Because to you, it's like, oh, great, I got a song on this record, that's awesome. To them, it's like, this record is my life for the next 2 years. You know, like, this is it. So this has got to be exactly what I want.
For sure.
So what, like... Man. So did you just get thrown into, like, that opening... For Sugarland thing was a big deal because those were big audiences. Those were big crowds. They were playing mostly amphitheaters, I think.
Yeah, remember
Did you just get thrown into that right off the bat of doing that record? Or did you guys do a lot of clubs before that, or how did that all work?
Man, I had done some clubs and things like that.
Radio tour and that kind of stuff.
Yes, had radio toured, I remember. And then, because I had a single out, I'd put out a single.
What was the first single off that record?
I put out a song called Ain't Much Left to Love in You.
That's right.
And,
that was like a 4 on the floor sort of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I remember that song. I like that song.
Yeah, driving thing, yeah. It's cool. But, yeah, that, I'd radio toured for a while, and then I know the song was still out when I was on that tour. Actually, I think that song, my first single was out, and dying when I was on that tour, and then we were going with the next one.
You know what I mean? Right. Was the second one a ballad? Was it a slower song?
No, it was up. Song called "1,000 Faces."
Oh yeah. I've got that song.
Yeah.
Somehow, I don't know. Maybe I bought it then.
Yeah.
I bet I did. It's on my iPod.
Yeah, man. And that's right, because y'all were out doing some of those dates too.
Yeah, because we did maybe 2 or 3 of those Sugarland tours, playing like the side stage, opening for the opener sort of thing. But that was right in the thick of them doing their radio tours too. So we, you'd go to a station in the day and then go do the thing at night, and then go to the next town and do a station in the day. And cause those radio tours, while they're fun because you get to go to a lot of areas, they can be a grind and that's just coming from a player standpoint. That's not even coming from the artist that's got to put on their best face and always look like they're the happiest person in the world. Because, I mean, it's like fly dates every day, and you're visiting 2 radio stations and playing a small show, and then, it's a lot. A lot of work.
Yeah, I had an idea, going into it of the late nights and early mornings, you know what I mean? But until you're actually in the thick of it,
it's harsh. Yeah, it's really harsh. And it's like mixed in with so much downtime. Like road life in general is such a weird thing. It's not really what people would expect, because it's like all this downtime, and all of a sudden it's like an hour and a half of go, be on your A game, and then like 4 hours of just sitting on a bus doing nothing.
Yeah.
And then like 3 hours of go, be on your A game, be smiling, be, do everything, look like you're perfect.
Totally.
It's such a weird thing. And that's just coming, like I said, from a musician. I've never done the artist thing, so it's like, I've always looked at artists when I've played with them and traveled with them. I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much more respect for you guys now, because it's a lot of work.
It is.
It's twice the work that the players have to go through, because we don't go to most of the stuff y'all have to do or had to do.
Yeah. No, it's that whole, and I always describe it like, especially when we were traveling in a van and trailer, and going to play these clubs. It's always like, I always describe it as 24 hours together for 45 minutes on stage. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Take that 24 hours, and then you're going to get 45 minutes on stage to do what you came out to do.
Right. And what you've worked your whole life for.
As soon as your show's over, just reset that clock. You know what I mean? Start 24 hours for 45 minutes on stage.
Come down. You're no longer a rock star. You're back in a van driving 400 miles to the next place.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, man. It's I don't know. Like I said, it's hard to explain to people who've never done it before, because it's just such an odd experience. And like, because that was like kind of not my last hurrah, but that was like I had a kid during that stage. My daughter's 7 now, and it was getting harder and harder for me to travel.
Yeah.
Not harder as far as like making the time, but harder just emotionally to go, because you're like, oh my gosh, my daughter is 4 months old and she just rolled over, and like I'm gonna miss that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I kind of started slowing down then, and I guess it kind of worked in conjunction with the girls slowing down, because I think they left Mercury maybe a year or 2 after that, and a year after that or so. And then I had my second child, and I was like, all right, I gotta come off the road. I can't do this anymore. Man. Because even if you're only doing like 100 shows, that's all. Man, you're talking about 250 days at least that you're gone. It's like you miss a lot of life that way. And some people can do it, and it works for some people. For me, it just didn't.
Right. Yeah, especially early on when those kids are changing as much as they do early on. I remember I missed a lot of my daughters. Probably the first year, just still having tour dates and stuff like that.
Right.
And I remember that being tough. I mean, honestly, now it's kind of a blur, just with how it feels like it was forever ago, Right. But yeah, I remember that getting difficult. But
right. Well, you live a different life too, to an extent, because, like we were talking about, you go out on stage and you're like the shit in that room. There's 1,500 people, 10,000, 20. How many people are in the room? Like the 6 guys on stage are like the shit. They're like the guys. You're rock stars.
Yeah.
And so you get that feeling of like that adrenaline rush of like, oh my gosh, everybody's looking at me and they're digging what I'm doing.
Right.
And then to come home and come back down.
Yeah.
And not down to a bad place, but back down to reality. And it's like changing shitty diapers and, going to the zoo and that kind of stuff, which I always enjoyed. It's such an odd feeling because I'm like, 2 nights ago, I was on a stage in front of 15,000 people. And now here I am, like, I just changed a poopy diaper.
That's right, man.
It's such a weird,
such a
weird feeling. It does build character. I think artists with kids who travel a lot, maybe they have a little bit more humbleness to them. The ones that actually have to come home and do the dirty work, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Because it's, you're gone and you're a rock star and then you're coming home to T-ball games.
Totally.
And it's such a weird feeling.
Totally. No, that's so funny and very, very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So what, so you're with Mercury for a couple years, few years, and you did a record, just one record with them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
did a record, and then that kind of fizzled out and came to an end. What was your mindset after you left that deal? Were you just like, I'm just gonna hunker down and just write songs, or were you still wanting to make records and do an artist thing?
Yeah, no, and
or was it just like figure it out as it comes?
Yeah, it was more of that. I knew at the time when I came out of a deal, it was hard to make. I wasn't making a ton of money on the road, and so I was like, I didn't want to spend my life in the backseat of a van. You know what I mean? Like traveling around, doing that. And I was like, well, the best way to do this would be to write songs. And literally, as soon as it ended, I made a point, just a concerted effort to just sit down and just write more than I'd ever written. Right.
Book your schedule solid. Just like, I'm going to be writing as much as humanly possible.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I took that approach and I was fortunate enough that over grinding through that and writing songs that some of them started to get cut.
Right.
I started to get cut. And man, even during my record deal, I was getting outside cuts, which that was kind of at least giving me a sign like, hey man,
maybe there's more to this.
Maybe you can do this side of it too.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was getting cuts on like band like Parmalee, and I wound up getting a George Strait cut while I was in a record deal over there. It was on this last record, Love Is Everything, a song called When the Credits Roll.
Okay, cool.
And so I had a single on a guy named James Wesley there, and while I was doing my deal, and so I at least knew it's like, okay, well you can make that happen, and so yeah, I just buckled down and started writing songs.
That's awesome.
And those cuts started happening, you know, and that's what got the songwriting ball really rolling.
Right.
Do
you do the bulk of your co-writing, or do you write by yourself very much?
All co-writes usually. I mean, I'll every now and then.
You get an idea.
I'll write something alone. Right. But yeah, man, I book a pretty thick schedule.
The nice thing about co-writes too is like there's a level of accountability there. Whereas like if you're like, all right, tomorrow at 9 I'm gonna sit down and write a song. If it's by yourself, you'll get distracted with something else and you'll end up cleaning the house or shooting your bow in the backyard, or like it's inevitably something will, or you'll just spend 4 hours on YouTube looking at stupid videos. Right. But it's like if you book a co-write, like, all right, tomorrow at 11 we're getting together. If you're not there, people are gonna be calling you like, where's your ass at? You know what I mean?
Man. No, and that's what's fun. That's a great point, because like I'm so easily distracted. So if I leave the house and go somewhere to do something, it's like, well, I'm gonna go do this.
Right.
And when I'm done, I'm gonna come home.
Right.
Or I'm gonna go do this. That's good for me. I have to have that kind of schedule in my brain to go. This is the block of time where you're doing that.
Yeah, because I'll have like weeks at a time where all I have is like computer, like stuff I could do at home. I can just sit at the house and do it. There's a Starbucks like a mile and a half from our house. I drive to Starbucks at 8:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
I've literally sat at Starbucks for like 7 hours one day because I'm like, I can't go home.
Yeah.
Not because I don't want to go home, but even if there's no one there,
yeah,
I can't get anything done. Because I'm like, oh crap, the dishes need to be washed. Oh crap, there's something broken outside.
Right.
Oh crap, there's a stupid YouTube video that, like that kind of stuff where I don't get distracted with. I'm like, this is the place I'm going, and I'm going to get this done here.
For sure.
No. And some people can do it. Some people work at home and have no problem with it, but I don't know. I don't think I'm ADD, but maybe I am.
Right.
Maybe I've just never been diagnosed.
Never took a test, man.
Yeah, that's right. So you came out, you started writing, and which kind of leads you to today. I mean, you're still plugging away, writing songs.
Yeah.
Do you ever like get the hankering to sit down and like I'm gonna make a EP or I'm gonna do something like that? Or?
Yeah, and I did one. I did one a couple years back.
Okay.
Made an EP and put that out independently, which was a lot of fun because
so did you produce it yourself too?
I did.
Oh, that's awesome.
And took the songs in and with a band and tried. It was a lot of fun. And actually wound up getting a few of those cut off
really?
of that EP.
That's awesome.
It's a project and it sounds a little different, know, and so yeah, taking those, doing that on my own was great and a release too, just being creative, creative release, and so that was good.
That's awesome.
And I still love making records and making music. It's not that just because not going after a deal.
It's not out of your mind, but
no, man,
you're able to do it a little more on your own terms now.
I love making music. It's the reason we got into it to begin with, So it's just finding a way to be creative. It's like how can we finagle this and make this work?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's like some people have that bug too. And I've watched a lot of guys, and I'm one of them. I consider myself a recovering musician because, like, I decided to come off the road, and I was like, well, I don't have a well enough established name to come in and start doing session work just because I didn't do it for long enough. I really only did it hot and heavy for maybe 4 or 5 years.
Right.
And so I started doing the general contracting thing just because my dad was a general contractor. I've been doing it I took my GED when I was 15 and just got out of school. I'm going to work. So
that's cool.
I was like, I'm either going to do construction or music, and I don't need to go to school for either one, so I'm just going to go. So I started working. And so I've been doing it for a long time, and so it was kind of a natural fit for me to come out of it and start doing it. But I battled for a while. I'm like, man, what am I going to do about... Like, I still have this creative itch that I need to scratch. Like, in construction, it's kind of... General contracting as far as, like, building houses and restaurants and that kind of stuff, the kind of stuff we've done for a long time. It's a little bit hard to scratch that itch because there is literally a blueprint. Like, these are your parameters, and you have to work within these parameters.
Yes.
So that's why we started filming hunts and doing that kind of stuff is because, like, it combined something that I loved to do, which was hunting, and, like, I thought about as much as anything else in my life. But it let me be a little bit creative on the video side, and now with a podcast, be able to like flex that muscle a little bit. So man. I don't have that weird like, oh man, I don't have that regret of coming out of music that some guys do when they're like working at a music store or something, but are still really trying to look for somewhere to flex that muscle.
Yeah.
I'm able to do it in a different avenue where I'm not like, man, I wish I wouldn't have stopped playing. There are times I miss it.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times like that feeling of getting on stage and like everyone looking at you. That's a feeling that you never really forget. But being able to itch that creative side has been enough for me to be like not one of those jaded musicians. For sure. And I came out of the industry like not jaded, so I was able to like for the first time in a long time when I stopped playing, I was able to listen to country radio and really enjoy it. Not be like, oh, that guy's an asshole. I can't believe that song got cut. That's terrible. You know what I mean? Like, whereas like if I'd come out still trying to do it or try to be doing it a little bit, I'd be so jaded and unhappy about it. I'd just still have that weird like I can listen to a new single from Blake Shelton and not be like, oh, well, that producer's a jerk, or, that guitar player's terrible. I would have played a way different lick there, Right. I can be like, oh, this music's really good. I like it.
Funny.
Not that everything on country radio is great, but for the most part, we're lucky enough to be in a genre of music that most of the stuff is pretty good.
Totally, man. No, they, and like you said, having that, and I think that's why, you were talking about hunting too, and it's like, I think that's why I dig. That's kind of like my escape to get away from not having to think. Like to kind of stop those wheels from turning. Man, I really only find that, being in the deer woods or the turkey woods, or
it's a weird thing
because it's not it's out of that everyday routine.
Right.
And it's like being out. Hearing a turkey gobble. You can't just go to the store and say, hey man, here's $20. I'd really love to hear a turkey gobble. You know what I mean? Like you got to get out there and you've got to go. It's invaluable. You know what I mean? And for those of us that have that, whatever that genetic thing is, to be like, hey, I got an idea.
Right.
I want to dress like the Woods and go sit down
exactly.
and try to trick one of these guys into thinking that I'm a sexy hen. You know what I mean?
Like, it's such a weird thing, especially turkey hunting too, because I saw you had posted a picture on your Instagram. Do you have a full tom, like a full strut tom? That's amazing. How did you talk your wife into putting that in your house?
Man, there wasn't a lot of talking. I'm not gonna lie, man.
Just showed up.
Yeah. I named him Dr. Kenneth Noisewater. Where'd
that turkey come from?
Man, okay, I'm good friends with me and Tyler Farr. When we were just we started hunting together back when we were literally just writing songs and neither of us had anything going on. And
you had plenty of time to hunt.
We had plenty of time to hunt, and so we started hunting together and doing other extracurricular activities. Then going downtown and acting like idiots. But yeah, man. So. He bought an awesome place out of town and I wound up it was the first, I think that was the first bird killed off at his place. And
was it just a standard set up under the roof sort of hunt?
No. It was really pretty funny. He had to run into town. It was early. He had to leave at like 8:30 in the morning. And so we had been on birds all morning. And I remember there was another bird gobbling this field, and we both kind of knew it. And he looked at me and he says, I have to go to town. And he gives me that kind of that look like, I'm going to regret saying this.
You just hang out.
But you can keep hunting. You know what I mean?
You're like, kind of like, well.
And I looked at him and I said to him, I was like, you know how this is going to go, right? And he kind of looked and I was like, yeah. And I said, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you tell me that you don't want me to stay. And he was like, no, man, I want you to stay. And I'm like, all right, bud. And, man, that bird, I remember I peeked into a field and he was strutting out in the middle of this field. And I called to him. I set up kind of back into the woods a little bit where I couldn't see him, and I called to him. And he gobbled. But he only gobbled once, and I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell if he was coming or not. You know what I mean? I couldn't tell if the bird was coming or not. And
that's the worst feeling.
Well, yeah, and it's
they're responding, but they're silent.
Yeah, and so I had no clue where he was at. And I was sitting probably 15 yards off of Tyler's driveway. And he's got this big ass Chevy truck with dual pipes. It's just loud as hell when you crank it up.
Right.
And dude, he started his truck probably, he's a good 100 yards from where I am. But kind of catty-cornered to the bird. Like we're kind of making a triangle as far as where his truck is, where I am, and where the bird is. And he starts his truck, and dude, the bird shot gobbles, and his truck starting. And when the bird shot gobbles, I'm like, holy shit, this bird has cut the distance in half. You know what I mean? Like, he's coming.
Right.
And so literally, Tyler's pulling out the driveway. I was in full camo, so he can't see me, but I give him deuces as he's going by, and not 3 minutes later, man, this big double bearded dude is standing 10 yards in front of me, poking his head around the corner of this fence, and it was boom, it was over.
That's the best. So not only did he leave you there begrudgingly, but he helped you realize that the bird was coming.
He aided in the.
What did he say when you told him all that?
I called him on the phone. He goes, "You're not going to believe this." He goes, "You already shot a bird, didn't you?" Because he wasn't on the interstate yet, probably.
Right.
And I was like, "Yeah," and he's huge.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So
you got him puffed up, sitting on a log or whatever.
Yeah, man. I told my wife earlier in the year, I was like, end of deer season, I was like, if I kill a big bird this year, I'd really like to get him.
I want to get a full stroke.
I really wanted one, and and she told me, she's like, she's like, Randy, you're an idiot.
You know what I mean? Like, room.
You're an idiot. And so
she's praying you don't shoot a bird, probably.
Well, yeah, and it was so long ago, I think we'd both kind of forgotten, and that was, I hadn't forgotten, she had forgotten.
That's why you told her earlier in the year.
Right.
Did she forget that she agreed to it?
So I shot that dude, and he's double beard, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do it. And I dropped him off at the taxidermist and didn't say anything, to anybody.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, I remember. So I was in April. I think the bird got finished in August or September. Mm-hmm. And
did you just bring it home and
yeah, I did.
Oh my gosh.
I did. I just
I'm sure there was some conversation that went on after you showed up.
Totally, man. Because in the moment of truth, you're just kind of like you get the call and it's like, hey, your bird's done, and then you're really starting to go exactly. You're going, oh yeah, the big Tom's coming, that. Yeah. Dr. Kenneth Noisewater's about to be here.
Dr. Kenneth Noisewater.
And, yeah, I made the mistake of going, Montgomery was like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you so excited in the morning? And I was like, look, I said, I'm going to pick up something. I'll be back. And she's like, what are you getting? And I'm like, and I made the mistake of going, I can't tell you, but it's a gift for all of us.
Oh, no. So she was all excited thinking it was something awesome for her.
Yeah, she thought it was something great. And when she got home and saw that joker sitting on the kitchen, I left him on the kitchen counter, on the kitchen table. It didn't go over well, but it is what it is, man.
It's like, we got him now. We can't send him back.
I mean, he's in the corner. He looks great.
Where does he reside?
We got a little office space.
Oh, okay. So she's like, you can have it in here, but it's not going to be in the living room.
Exactly. Yeah, we have an extra bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got 2 kids, and so we got an extra bedroom up there that they're not using, and she uses it as an office, and he's chilling in the corner.
That's how my wife
looking gorgeous.
Kevin and I, Kevin Weaver, who does co-host the podcast with me, we went deer hunting a couple years ago, and we were filming for a show. And so we were set up, and it was like the end of season. We had not killed anything. It was the worst season. And so we're sitting in the stand, and we're in climbers. He's like at a tree right beside me, and I'm right here. Mm-hmm. And we're looking over this chert mine over it, which is like a big dirt mine. And had not seen a deer, and I just hear something running. And I'm like, there's deer coming. I'm going to shoot a doe. I'm going to shoot a spike. I don't care. I'm shooting a deer because I'm getting something on film.
Totally.
Because we've been filming all season. And this coyote pops out. And so I'm like, well, getting something on film. So I start, doing with my mouth. And he comes down, and I shoot him. And then 20 minutes later, another coyote pops out.
You're kidding.
And so I'm going, and I hand the 270 to Kevin. He shoots him. We get it all on film. And so our buddy's dad is a taxidermist in Florida. And we were like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'd love to keep this pelt, but I don't want to spend $350 to get a coyote dried out. It's just a pelt, and I'll shoot more. I've shot some in the past. And he's like, oh, my dad would love to do that. I was like, well, how much would you charge us? He's like, nothing. He's like, I'll just take it. I'm going to Florida next week.
Oh, wow.
So I brought 2 45-pound coyotes home with me. And we have a big lay-down freezer. And so my wife walked outside because I told her I shot somebody. I didn't tell her what. She assumed I shot a deer. And she comes outside, and I open the tailgate, and there's these 2 dogs laying in the back. She's like, no. And I'm like, babe, it's just going to be for like a week. And she's like, no, absolutely not. So I'm like, I lift up the freezer door and throw these dogs in the freezer. Literally didn't gut them, nothing.
Just the whole dog.
Just the whole dog.
Yeah.
And a week later, Jacob took them down, and then the episode that we shot aired. And so that night, Kevin didn't tell me, but he had gotten the pelts the week before. So he came in wearing them over his head when we were all like getting together to watch the show. And she was like, awesome. That's not going in our house. I'm like, come on. I was like, after all of this, that's not going in. So it's in the office. It's like back, like, because I've got like that. I've never shot a big buck, so I don't even have a deer mount. Mm-hmm. But I've killed so many stinking turkeys, I've got like stacks of fans because I keep unless it's a Jake, which I'll shoot a Jake in a heartbeat. But every longbeard I've got, so I've got, not everyone I've ever shot, but I've got like 8 or 10 like fans just stacked up.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to cover this whole wall in turkey fans. She's like, no. So they're like in the corner stacked up. I'm like, one day I'm just going to hang them.
Yeah.
Like, she's going to come home.
No, you should,
It's going to be a wall of turkey fans.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the worst you can do? Take them down?
Keep the beard and the fan. They make cool mounts that way, man.
Well, I've made them.
Those are cool.
I've done a lot of woodworking and carpentry, so like I make the mounts, and then I take the beard, and you take like a 12-gauge shell. Like usually I take the shell I shot the turkey with, and cut the shell off, and you put the end of the beard up in the shell and just like glue it in place.
Totally.
And it looks really cool, but talking my wife into letting me put 12 turkey mounts up in our office has been difficult.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine showing up with one all puffed up, taking up an entire 4 foot by 4 foot area
man.
on a pedestal.
Yeah, that was a little much. You can't. If there had been a conversation beforehand, it wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean?
That's why you just had to do it like that. Yeah. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Right, and I figure it could be a lot worse. You know what I mean?
True.
There's a lot worse things I could do in this world other than bring home a stuffed turkey, right?
That's right. And it'll be a good story. And one of your kids will get it one day when you die. It'll be awesome. They'll have to fight over the turkey.
I still look at it sometimes. I go, why the hell did I do that? I
I
love it. I love him.
Yeah, but I'd like to get one. I've seen the ones they like flying, coming down the wall. That would be awesome. But again, I had taught my wife into. I don't want to get that and not be able to put it somewhere where I can show people. And my office is not somewhere where you It's like the junk room / I have a desk in there sort of thing.
Right.
It's not like a showroom.
Right.
I wonder if one day we have big high ceilings in our living room. I just come and mount all this stuff above the fireplace and ride the ladder.
Yeah.
Just be it's there.
It just got up there. I don't know how I got up there, babe. I'm sorry.
So what did you did you get into hunting with your dad, or how did that all start?
Man, I don't really know, honestly. My dad doesn't hunt. Yeah, right. My dad doesn't hunt at all.
Really?
Yeah, we fished a lot growing up.
Okay. Did you grew up here in town or around town?
Yeah, I grew up in Antioch.
Okay. Have you ever lived anywhere else other than Nashville?
Nope.
Oh wow.
No.
That's awesome.
I mean, lived in Murfreesboro for a couple years.
Right.
That's
the greater Nashville area.
50 minutes down the road, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, man, my dad doesn't hunt at all. Okay. My grandpa is huge into it.
Okay.
He always did. And I remember as a kid always really wanting to do it.
Right.
But just not having anybody here especially when I was younger, to go. And then when I turned 16, started driving.
Right.
It became easier. You know what I mean?
Right.
I remember
I can take myself.
Yeah, and having friends with the property. I remember we'd do we'd just squirrel hunt, but it wasn't very it was just hey, I'll meet at your place in the afternoon and we'll
take a 22 or a shotgun out and just go.
Man.
That's usually how it starts too. Mine, that's how mine started. Mine started shooting rabbits and squirrels, and then my dad hunted when I was a kid, but he had 3 kids and he just he kind of slowed down. He worked so much that he finally just slowed down. So I hunted a lot when I was 8 to 12, and then I didn't hunt for a couple years at all.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Tennessee, and I started turkey hunting up here. I started turkey hunting about a year or 2 before we came up here, but that's in South Mississippi, there was just at the time was not much to hunt. They were there, but they were far and few between.
Yeah.
So I got here and I'm oh my gosh, we have all these turkeys and all these deer, and that's when I really got heavy into it.
Yeah, we are. I mean, around here we are in the mecca. This turkey hunting around here it's great, and I take it for granted how good it is.
Oh, absolutely.
I think first for me would be probably bow hunting. I just bow hunting and
archery,
deer hunting.
whitetail deer. Gotcha.
That's kind of my top rung. You know what I mean, as far as what I love.
Right.
And then, but man, turkey's right up there.
Right.
It's you get one to do the dance and hammer at you and come in, either ready to fight or make love. Man, that's an exciting thing.
It is. It's hard to describe unless you've actually experienced it. Because I consider myself I love to deer hunt. I really enjoy it. But I think every hunter I've ever met has this hierarchy of I've never met somebody. I was at the TWA the other day and I was talking to them about it, and it's I've never met anybody that's oh, I love it all the same. Everybody has a thing. I'm a deer hunter, I'm a turkey hunter, I'm a small game hunter. They have this thing that they are.
For sure.
It's this is where my real passion is. And for a long time it was whitetails. Yeah. For a long time. I love bow hunting. I just it's something, getting so close to the animal and having to be aware of your wind and your scent and your sound and your movement.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot involved in it, and it's so much more difficult than killing one with a rifle. I don't know, something about turkeys over the last maybe 5 or 10 years has switched me.
I get it, man.
Yeah, I don't know, there's something about I I can't pass, like, I was coming here a while ago, and on Liberty Church, there was a bunch of jakes feeding in somebody's yard, and I stopped and took a bunch of pictures. I just can't not do it. Yesterday I pulled off off of Highway 70 out in Bellevue at Percy Warner Park. There's a T-deck, has a little, they're doing, like, environmental stuff back in, like, there's this farmhouse and all this, and it literally has the signs, like, do not pull down here without permission.
Right.
There's a Tom strut, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, there's a Tom strutting in the middle of this freaking gravel road, and you want me to not stop and take a picture. And sure enough, I went to go pull out, this, like, T-deck truck pulls in, he's like, can I help you, son? And I'm like, I'm just taking pictures of that turkey. He's like, oh, all right, that's fine. So just so you know, this is you have to be authorized to be down here. I was like, I'm sorry, sir, and I just pulled off. But not until I got the shot.
Yeah.
But it was like, it's and some people are like that. Like Kevin's like that with whitetails. Like that's his deer.
Right.
He gets excited about turkey season, but like deer are like his jam.
Yeah.
And he's better at it than I am. I think it's because he's more passionate about it than I am.
For sure. Yeah, and like you said, it's whatever gets you. It's whatever gets that blood pumping, man. And there's something, and I find it with turkeys too, though, is I love the idea. Turkey hunting is fun to me just as opposed to deer hunting. One, the weather's better for the most part. But two, it's like, man, you get to move around. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you can cover some ground. And you sit in one place for long enough and you start getting bored.
Right.
Man, it's not like a deer hunt where you're like, man, I haven't, it's 8:30. Mm-hmm. Sun came up at 6:30. I haven't seen anything move. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, some of those mornings in a stand. Right. Some of those mornings in a stand can, it's like, dude, it can get.
Oh, yeah.
It can get laborious to sit there,
mm-hmm.
Especially if it's just like, if it's just not feeling right. You know what I mean? That's the great thing with turkeys, man, is you can get up and move around and explore other areas. Yeah. You know what I mean? To see if there's birds there.
I get a lot of like people that have never been hunting or like curious and want to go, and I've taken a lot of first time hunters over the last few years, and it's my first choice is dove hunting to take them because I don't know, have you ever done any dove hunting?
Yeah.
We do a dove hunt every year out in West Tennessee. We have a farm out there that we're
on, cool.
And which I'll have to get you to come to this year. It's a blast. But we I always take people there because it's like dove hunting's like a social event more than anything.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
It's like going to a quail hunt. You don't have to be all that quiet. You kind of be still-ish, but you don't have to sit perfectly still. If somebody misses a bird, you can give them hell over it.
Heck yeah, dude.
Walk up to the cabin and go get something to eat. If you get bored,
I think you miss more than you hit. Isn't that the
Oh
deal?
Gosh, yeah.
At least I do.
They say people. I think the average is like. I think it's like either 20 or 30% of the birds. No, it's like 15 or 20% of the birds you shoot at, you'll actually hit.
Right.
And that's probably about my average. If I limit out on 15 birds, I'll probably shoot 2 boxes of shells.
Yeah, 100%.
And my shoulder will be
100%, yeah.
But that's usually what I start people out on. But then turkey hunting's very close second because in Tennessee, we're very lucky. If you're hunting in a half-decent area, you'll almost always at least hear a bird. You may not get on them. And if it's decent weather, if it's like windy and rainy, you may not even hear a bird. But if it's a good clear morning and you know what turkeys like to do, you'll at least hear one.
For sure.
And that's enough to get my blood pumping in the morning. Is just like sitting, finding a spot I've never hunted before, sitting down and just being like, all right, let's figure out where they are.
Right.
It's like starting from scratch.
Right.
That's why I like hunting public land because you can go into roost birds and you're gonna have way more success than that. But it's fun to just go, like, I'm going to pick this road, I'm going to walk that way until I see a good spot, and I'm going to sit down until it gets light.
For sure, man. Turkey and public land is that's what's fun around here, too, specifically. But, like, if you get on a hot bird, man, it's a hot bird, regardless of what piece of property is on it. You know what I mean? And now, granted, those public land birds have been called to a ton.
Yep.
And so I know whenever I've gotten it done on public land, it's definitely more rewarding.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because you know how many people have yelped at that turkey. And it's like, and you never know about other people, busting up hunts. You know what I mean? I went with a friend of mine, Ryan Gore. We went one morning and struck a bird and got set up on this bird. This bird was gobbling. He responded to me. He's cutting me off. You know what I mean? And we kind of cut the distance, got set up on this ridge, and I bet this bird gobbled 100 times coming in on public land. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, I've never wanted a bird to shut up more. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, stop gobbling. Because, like, he was just gobbling at himself. You know what I mean? Like, he would just double up on himself. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, I wish this bird would shut up. Because every hunter within a quarter mile is going to be here.
I've never thought of that, but that's very true.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, shut up.
A gobbling bird on public land can be the worst thing.
Yeah.
Gobble once, son. Know where you are.
Exactly. Gobble under your breath. You know what I mean? Like, do it on your breath. Just so I can hear
in my direction. Yeah. Don't let it go anywhere else.
Man, that's that hilarious. Bird hammered and hammered and hammered. And we wound up getting it done, but, like, we were laughing about it afterwards. It's like, God, I've never... To this day, I don't know if I've had a bird gobble as much as that bird gobbled. Like,
it's amazing. You get them on wild. You get a certain bird on the right morning. Yeah. It's just like, you can't do anything to mess that hunt up.
Yeah.
It's like bucks during the rut. I've had bucks during the rut where I'm like, during muzzleloader season and end of muzzleloader season and rut's hitting really hard and hot and heavy. And, I mean, I've had deer that, like, I could yell at and couldn't get to stop. Yeah. I mean, 20 yards from my stand.
Totally.
You just like, hey! And they won't stop. It's the weirdest thing. It's like, what can I do to mess this hunt up?
Something else on the brain, man.
It's the same thing for turkeys. It's just like, all I could do to mess this up is stand up and take off running straight at him.
For sure.
And then there's some birds just like, oh my gosh, he came in, didn't even look around. He looked at that tree, saw me, and turned around and walked off. Right. Like, he literally poked his head around the tree. Yep, there he is, and he walked the other way.
I had a guy tell me, a dude that's hunted his whole life, and this was great in describing turkey hunting, and he goes, a turkey knows what color your eyes are at 100 yards, and he knows what you're thinking at 50. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like it's so true, man.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Well, what was it? There's a quote. I think it was Tom Kelly that said it. He said, to a deer, every human is a stump. But to a turkey, every stump is a human.
Totally.
And it's like, turkeys walk through the woods with this weird, like, they're so freaking paranoid all the time. And for good reason. They got a lot chasing them. Yeah. Especially way more than whitetails do around here. They very little, I mean, other than coyotes and cars, they don't have much prey on them.
Right.
And so, but it is weird how, like, I mean, perfectly still, you can even be a little bit brushed in. A turkey can pop his head over a rise, look right at you, and then just pop it back down and you'll never see him again.
And he's gone, man. They drive me insane.
Oh, they drive a lot of people crazy.
They drive me insane, but for good reason.
Yeah. Well, you go back to that thing about, like, turkeys on public land. I had a hunt at a tract of public land. I hunt a lot that is close to town. That's where I do the bulk of my turkey hunting. And I got the same thing. This bird was just like, like everything, cluck. And it was like 8:30, 9 in the morning. It was later in the morning. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But I was walking down the main road and I saw this truck pull in and he got out and I saw him. He heard it. He grabs his vest out of the back and throws a shotgun. So I'm like, I take off running down this other road to get on the other side of the turkey. Get set up on him. I'm maybe 60 yards from the bird, but couldn't quite get to the top of the ridge to see over because he's just down the other side.
Yeah.
And I'm set up, calling, he's coming, another 10 yards. I mean, literally to the point where I'm like, this turkey's going to stick his head over and I'm about to shoot him. This is going to happen. And I've got cameras rolling, like I'm by myself. And he shuts up for like 3 minutes. It wasn't long, but it was enough to make me nervous. And I was just getting ready to call again. And I hear maybe 75 yards away. This dude had snuck in on the road. And it was fair game. It's public land. But he had snuck in on that road. And that turkey had known something was up, and so it quit gobbling. But he knew right where the bird was, so he's like belly crawled into the range and shot the thing. Oh my god! And my first thought was like, how close did I just come to getting shot?
Yeah. And
my second thought was, son of a bitch! I just like ran 3/4 of a mile with a vest and a gun and cameras and tripods. I'm like. Like, and sitting down, and then I'm like, all my hopes are up, like, this bird's coming, here it comes, just to have it just taken from you, just like that. And the dude really didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
He just hunted the bird a little more aggressively than I did, and he shot it.
Right.
And that's like, that was the year, that was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that was the year I kind of turned my tactic of hunting. I don't sit down and call anymore. I mean, I do sit down and call. If the bird's hot and I can tell he's getting closer, I'll sit down and shut up. But if that bird's gobbling and you can tell he's just walking up and down the ridge, he's got hens or he's waiting for the hen to show up, I will absolutely go after
Go to him, yeah.
Because I've been ruined several times on public land
Yeah.
just not getting aggressive enough and the next guy being a little more aggressive than me and him walking out with a bird.
For sure, man. And that right there just takes time and understanding.
Right. What you can get away with and what you can't.
Yeah, man, because there's so many times that you're like, oh, gobbling bird. Like, especially early on. You know what I mean? It's just like, just sit down. And it's like, yeah, sometimes that's great.
Right.
And you're talking about, doing construction. There's a blueprint and there's directions. There's no blueprint for those those dudes. You know what I mean?
Every bird is different.
It's all every situation's different, and so that's what's so exciting for me is like trying to figure out, like, is he up there? Is he just gobbling at you to say, hey, come on up here?
Right.
Because I got a bunch of girls up here.
Come join my harem.
come down here to Club 615. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we're rocking up here. Or is he going? Is it a gobble like?
Sweet thing, I'm
you
coming
stay
your way.
right there.
I'll be there in 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's cool to have to figure that out.
Yeah.
And
well, and it's like
that's what I love about it.
I spend the first few hunts every year remembering how to turkey hunt. And it's like, because you forget. And I've been doing it for 17 years. I've been hunting turkeys for a long time now, but you just, like, you forget not the basics, but you forget those, like, subtle nuances of, like, he's hammering, but, like, okay, I'm going against nature here, setting up 200 yards away, trying to call him in. It's like,
sure.
I need to be closer. And then you're like, oh, that bird didn't come in, and then you think, well, he was a quarter mile away. Of course he's not coming in.
Yeah.
There's probably 3 hens in between you and him.
Yeah.
And so, like, those first couple hunts, I'm, like, trying to remember what worked last year.
Totally, man.
And then after that, it's just game on. I'm after them.
Have you gotten into the reaping yet?
I've fanned one bird.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. I did it for the first time last year.
Okay.
And where, for those of you that don't know what reaping is, it's hiding behind a fan. Kind of crawling. You're getting into that tom's. It's for a tom that's kind of just strutting in the middle of a field, maybe with a bunch of hens. You're getting into his space.
You're breaking his personal space. You're making him uncomfortable.
You're challenging him
Right.
for a fight, And so, man, we did it last year with a friend of mine, Kerry Wicks, who's a great photographer. Shoots a lot for Outdoor Network and things like that, and kind of freelance
I've heard
stuff.
that name, yeah.
Great hunter too, but man, we had a goblin bird on top of this in this field in a ridge, and it was just standing out there with a bunch of hens, and man, I mean, two big dudes back behind this one, it's one of the half strut thunder chickens, you know. And I told him, and I leaned back and said, "Hey, man, we're just gonna crawl, and I'll tell you when he's coming." You know what I mean? And 2 grown-ass men behind this fan, and we get 10 yards into crawling, and I peek around the corner of this fan, and here's this 23-pound bird just running full speed at me, getting ready to flog my, you know what I mean? Like what I'm holding in my hand, you know what I mean?
Getting ready to defend yourself.
Yeah, and I go, oh, man. And I literally, it happened so quick that I just said to Carrie, I said, shoot the damn thing. And Carrie's like, what? Because it happened so fast. You know what I mean? I was like, he's running. And so I backed up to the side, man, and he dropped him. It was exciting, man. I mean, that's one of the more exciting ways to turkey hunt. You know what I mean? Awesome. Like it's intense.
It's
man.
weird that it took turkey hunters this long to figure it out too, because it really didn't start getting popular until the last 5 years or so.
That's a great point. Yeah.
It's so odd to me. I guess turkey hunting is, at least for a younger generation, has evolved a little bit from like, having a wing bone trumpet call around your neck, and you set up, and if the bird doesn't come, you go to the truck and try it again tomorrow.
Right.
To where where I'm literally running and chasing after birds. Like, people have gotten really aggressive.
For sure.
And I've killed way more birds because of it, because I used to sit down, not say that calling a bird in doesn't work, but this works, at least from my personal experience, has worked so much better for me of being pretty aggressive. And knowing I'm going to spook a lot of turkeys doing it this way.
You'll bust birds.
And it's kind of part of it. And you have to go in knowing you can't get depressed like, oh man, I should have held off. You learn from the experience, but knowing like this is gonna hurt, this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you call to that bird and he gobbles and you don't think he's coming, he's running your way.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're running at him and he's running at you. Chances are he's gonna see you well before you see him.
Right.
I've had that happen several times where like I've been 20 yards from a bird, come up over a hill and he's right there and he's like puts on the brakes and flies off. You know?
And the quiet. I was talking with a friend of mine, Riley Green, about that, about just the quiet bird. Like you do get your gobble at 100, like I say, 150 yards. You know, and then there's 30 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Of silence and even you still calling, and then going, okay, well he's not coming in after that 40 minutes, and then standing up.
And there he is.
And
I've had that happen several times.
And he's just right there, just out of sight, and
yeah, I've had that several times where like they've been within gun range.
That's what.
And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna shut up for 20 minutes, and if I don't hear anything, I'm gonna get up, walk up, shut up 20 minutes, stand up, and he's like 25 yards away.
It'll drive you insane.
But it just catches you off guard. You thought he was coming here, and he's right here, and then all of a sudden you stand up, look over the rise, and he's there, and he flies off, and it's over. I've had that happen way too many times.
It'll drive you insane, won't it?
It will.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's good enough to wrap up with. I appreciate you sitting down, man. It was nice to talk music, talk hunting.
Thanks for having me.
We need to get out in the turkey woods this year.
This was fun.
One more day. Are you going this weekend?
Yeah. I'm going this weekend.
I'm trying to figure out a way to go. I've got a bunch of places to hunt, but my boy's got a soccer game in the morning, so I can't miss that. And then we got church Sunday mornings, and I've got to help my wife do Sunday school and church. So I'm like,
how old is your son?
He's 4.
Okay.
So I've got a 3-year-old boy, a 4-year-old boy, and a 7-year-old.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter has a softball game. She's 5, and I'm trying to weigh out. I'm trying to remember if my dad was at my softball game, my baseball games when I was 5. You know what I mean? Right. Like I'm going.
That's what I'm trying to figure out because I'm like his game's not until like 10:30, so I'm like, I've
maybe
got a
you
place
can
in
sneak out
Bellevue.
before.
Slip out for like 2 hours, and if I get on one, great. If not, I have a hard stop date and then go back.
For sure.
I can talk my wife into that. We'll see if it happens. Well, where can people find you online? Follow your stuff around.
Just at Instagram at Randy Montana.
Okay.
Same with Twitter and Facebook. I'm not huge into the social network thing, but
just use them to cruise around and see what people are killing.
What's that?
Just use them to cruise around and see what people are killing once season starts.
There's some awesome accounts with beautiful photography and stuff. I follow a lot of those, especially on Instagram.
Yeah.
But I'll still post some things.
Okay, cool. But, well, thanks again, man, and good luck this season. And
thank you.
Let's get the turkey woods and try to slay it, maybe reap a couple.
Holler at me, dude.
All right, thanks, man.
I'm into that.
Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all later.